And next, we have Associate Professor Dr. T. Anansi Wilson, who will give the charge to the class today. Professor Wilson is the founding director of the study of Black life in the law at Mitchell Hamline. They are an award-winning scholar whose writing and scholarship primarily focuses on the history of Black thought, art, and imagination, crafted in response to and resistance against the social, political, legal realities of domination in the West. Dr. Wilson earned a BA from Tufts University, a JD from Howard University School of Law, and a PhD from the University of Texas in Austin. They joined Mitchell Hamline in 2021 and were honored that year by the Student Bar Association as its inaugural Change Maker of the Year. In 2022, they were inducted into the Martin Luther King Jr. Collegium of Scholars at Morehouse College, and in 2023, they received the Minnesota Lavender Bar Association's Equality and Justice Award. And just personally, he was my first person I recruited on the faculty here, and I couldn't be prouder that he's speaking today. So please join me in welcoming Professor T. Anansi Wilson.
Good afternoon, y'all. That's all you got? Good afternoon. All right. This is truly and surely a momentous day. I struggle to begin where to think about where to begin. First, we acknowledge that we are standing on the land of the Dakota people. We note that this land was taken, stolen, pillaged in our name, so some of us might be born, might be successful, might be here. We also acknowledge that we sit and we stand and we smile and we bear witness and we congregate and we celebrate on the land watered by the blood and the sweat of stolen people. Dred Scott was held in bondage and rented out for labor and pleasure not more than a few miles from here, 187 years ago. Only 21 years before the Supreme Court would declare that Black people were not people, were not citizens under law, and therefore had no rights the white man was bound to respect. 166 years ago, 63 years before women were understood as legally relevant, legally human, and afforded the constitutional right to vote. You see, some of us were never imagined as being capable or having a legal right to be here. Yet here you are, here I am, here we all are. We hold these histories as truth, fact, and self-evidence. So where do we go from here? Where do you go from here? Where do you go from the land you've sat on and studied and stressed and struggled and cussed and wept with and against the law? Where do you go from this land, this place, this moment, this experience we call law school? The place where you have borne witness to the law's making and the law's unmaking. The place where you are taught to regard the singular potence of precedents and also seen that precedent unravel again and again and again and again. Where do you go from this land? This land, this place where hopefully you've laughed a little bit more than you've cried. This land where you've engaged your peers and colleagues and professors and strangers in dialogues you never thought necessary, in conversations you never thought possible. This land where you bore witness to the life and the end of George Floyd, of Amir Locke, of those you don't have the capacity, of those no human being has the capacity to know by name or death note. This place where you've learned and crafted a grammar to explain, explicate, evaluate, and evade a reality the tongue was never meant to pronounce. Where do you go? Where do you go from this moment of reckoning, of reconciliation and reason? You go to work. Each of you go to work. You get busy about the business of life. You intervene. You interrupt and you inconvenience. This is your charge. This is your debt. This is your call. Charles Hamilton Houston, the former dean of Howard University School of Law, mentor to Pauline Murray and Thurgood Marshall, and the architect of the legal civil rights movement, once said that a lawyer is either a social engineer or a parasite on society. I ask, we ask, and you must ask yourselves, which one are you? Are you a social engineer, or are you a parasite on society? Will you build for tomorrow, or will you merely consume that which exists before you and the children that come next? We exist in a moment where our rights and the notion of law are in flux and instability runs amok. This instability is not about petty politics, it's not about right or left of right, or right of left, or the precarious middle. No, this moment is about right and wrong, justice and injustice, and what Martin Luther King once called the fierce urgency of now. Let me be clear, no person or group of people have a monopoly on reason. Yet we exist in a moment where words cease to have meaning, cease to have value, and the word of a man, woman, or gender-free person fails to be their bonds. When words and promises fail, the law itself falters. When the law falters, the fabric of society begins to fray, throwing lives and livelihoods into disarray. As officers of the courts, this is a crisis you are called to remedy. You must intervene. You must interrupt. You must inconvenience, for this is your duty. But what is duty? What does it mean to intervene, interrupt, and inconvenience? To intervene, come between so as to prevent or alter a result or course of events. To interrupt, to break the continuity of a process. To inconvenience, cause trouble or difficulty. When the law is on the wrong side of justice, you are charged with the task of intervention as its guide and as its stewards. You must prevent and alter the worst-case scenario from coming to pass. You must stand in the gap for justice when others don't have the words, the courage, or the know-how. This is your charge. This is what each of you have been trained for. When laws are being considered and written that target the vulnerable, the disregarded, and the despised, you are charged with the task of intervention. You must break the continuity of this process. You must call upon your ability to research, reason, and cause others to reconsider. It is your duty to ensure that equal protection under the law is more than mere dicta, so that the children who come next will be assured that the cities and towns they live in, the counties and the states they reside in, these United States we call home, will continue to strive to become the land of the free and a place where freedom dreams come true. This is your charge. This is what each of you have been trained for. When it appears that laws are being manipulated, molested, or misapplied for the benefits of the powerful and at the expense of the vulnerable, you must inconvenience. You must cause trouble or difficulty. You must engage what the late Congressman and civil rights icon John Lewis called good trouble. You must summon the courage to stop injustice in its very tracks. It is your duty to bend the arc of history toward justice, even when gravity attempts to pull it off its path, even when the stirrings of society have pushed it toward injustice, even when it appears to be a lost cause. It is your duty to inconvenience those folks and forces that would have it any other way. You are an officer of the courts. Each of you are agents of justice. You are social engineers, for better or for worse. This is your charge. This is what you have been trained for. Many of you were not supposed to be here. Life has been no crystal stair for you. You are first-generation high school, college, and law school graduates. You are parents of small children. You are first-generation Americans and immigrants from faraway lands. You are survivors, strivers, and overcomers. You had no models, yet you broke new grounds, planted new seeds, and tended to the garden of dreams and goals that you are now, in this moment, prepared to reap. You are not simply the ones you've been waiting for. You are the ones we've long needed, a future made present. Through pandemics and national reckonings, you have stood tall, you have studied long, and succeeded again and again with passion, compassion, and a little bit of style. As we say, y'all are real MVPs. But this is why your charge is so critical. Your life has equipped you with knowledge, the empathy, and the acuity to impact your communities, your countries, and our world in ways that you can only begin to imagine. So your final charge is this: dream big, build fearlessly, and never take no for an answer. You are the intervention. You are the interruption. You are the inconvenience necessary to create and maintain a just society that values life, that values liberty, and maintains the purchase of happiness for all. And it is time you get to work. So look to your left. Now look to your right. And look at those seated behind and above you. We are your community, your colleagues, and your peers in your journey toward continued success and self-actualization. When the road seems long and the journey almost unbearable, call on us to regain your faith, to refill your tank, and help tend to your spiritual garden. Though you are graduating and moving on from Mitchell Hamline School of Law, each of us, the staff that helped you navigate the school when 1L anxiety was as overwhelming as your first Minnesota winter, I recall. The administrators who set a vision for what learning and your career could look like when your future seemed uncertain. The faculty who demanded excellence and provided care when the two seemed incompatible. Your peers who shared notes, complaints, and commiseration about those same faculty. We know you do it. And your families who provided you with a long and loving foundation to get to this moment. We will be here with you, and we are only one call, email, or text away. This work is not easy. The task in front of you will seem insurmountable. It will sometimes feel like you're an imposter on an impossible journey without the means or methods for entry into some doors of opportunity. But imposter syndrome comes, and when it does, you will not cower. You will not bow your head in shame or fear. You will greet this feeling head on, and you will impose. When those doors attempt to close in your face, you must gather yourself. Remember who you are and find an open window or kick down the doors that would hold you back. And when you finally enter those spaces, smile and recall the words of Maya Angelou, that though you come as one, you stand as 10,000. Each of those family members and ancestors who took part in creating and molding and loving you have your back, and it is your duty to plow forward in their name, in your name, and in the names of the children who come next. Finally, remember our motto: great in theory, even better in practice. This is your charge, social engineers. Now go, practice making some good trouble for you, for our world, and the children who come next. Thank you all. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Professor Wilson. It is now my privilege and honor